Welcome back to Double Fries No Slaw. Florida State had its first scrimmage of the 2025 fall camp last night, and I spent a good amount of time on the phone since that happened, just trying to learn a little bit more about what's gone on in fall camp, what went on inside that closed scrimmage practice, and try and share it with you guys. I went bigger picture on this. We haven't done a lot of fall camp updates, even though they're about a week in right now. And so I didn't ask about a ton of specific plays. I'll talk about a few of them here in a minute, but I tried to get more of a picture of where the team is, where certain position groups are as we go along. They have another scrimmage, I believe, this weekend. The team's in Jacksonville right now, or left for Jacksonville today. And I think we'll go a little deeper into specific plays, specific things that happened in the next one. But I think this is a better overview of kind of what's been going on, not only in the scrimmage, but in fall camp in general. If you have questions, I can certainly try and dive into them on the next one. Let me know down in the comments, maybe the angle you want us to take. I thought bigger picture made sense here because it is just the first scrimmage. It's earlier than Florida State normally does them. And so I thought this was kind of a better way to talk about things. If I'm wrong on that, yell at me in the comments and we'll change it up for next time. Defensive aggressiveness looks really big and good so far. They're not perfect. Tony White came out and talked about some of the mistakes they made, some of the sacks they missed, turnovers they could have had, whatever. I think that gets cleaned up ideally, right? If not, we'll find out pretty early in the year. But I do think the defensive aggressiveness is really good. As I get started, I know I just went to the first one. This may be all over the place. I took notes as I was on the phone, tried to type out as much as I could. I tried to organize it. If it's not organized for whatever reason, forgive me for that. I'm not going position by position or anything like that, or, QB to end with safeties, right? But the aggressiveness looks good. Something I think you want to see out of this Tony White defense, the 3-3-5 that we'll set up. I think a frustration last year was certainly in the bend, don't break style that Florida State played. The aggressiveness certainly is ratcheted up a little bit with this. DBs look the part. Certainly the unit that I am most confident, the source I spoke with, is most confident in this on this side of the ball. I think defensive line, there's certainly some excitement. Depth is maybe a question. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But I do think that the DBs certainly look the part. Linebackers, just an overall thought, just okay. I don't think that anybody is jumping over the moon at linebackers, but this is no slight to anybody on the team, but I think they look fine considering the talent in that room. Florida State, for whatever reason, their philosophy has not been to prioritize linebackers is what I think their actions can kind of tell you. And so I don't think that you're going to get spectacular play out of the linebackers with that being the case. But look fine for kind of considering what you've got in that room. Offensive line, Gunner and Luke both kind of stuck out as really fun to watch on the offensive line. Somebody told me Gunner doesn't look to block people. He looks to rock people. He pulls at times, and anytime he does, it's kind of let's see if he can make a fun play blowing somebody up. And so that aggressiveness, that mentality is certainly, I think, something that'll be fun to kind of look for and watch as fall camp goes along, and then we get into the season. All five of your starters on offensive line that you would expect, right? So Adrian, Luke, Gunner, Leonard and Pettis all played. Didn't play the entire time. Obviously, they rotate guys, but all five played. Look improved from spring for sure, where you had some guys that were limited with what they could do. I will get right back to the video, but if you're like me, you are itching to get to that Alabama game just over 3 weeks away. And whether it's a live event, a concert, or just something fun to do with the fam, I am all about making memories, which is why I want to give to the sponsor of today's video, SeatGeek, a huge shout out. If you haven't heard, SeatGeek is the real deal. Over 28 million downloads. They are the #1 rated ticketing app. They've got more than 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, and more. Right now, college football is right around the corner, so it's the perfect time to snag some tickets. Those tickets for Bama are not cheap. I love using SeatGeek because it's so easy to find cool events. I just used SeatGeek to score tickets to a concert recently, and it was a ton of fun. The app makes it super simple to find great seats without breaking the bank. Look at this. You can pop in and you can see what you're looking for. Tons of options. They've got your back. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know if you're getting a good deal or not. The green dots mean good, red dots mean bad, and every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee, so you are covered. And I'm coming through with you for those expensive Alabama tickets. You can use code DOUBLEFRIES, DOUBLEFRIES, for $20 off tickets at SeatGeek right now. $20 off your first purchase with promo code DOUBLEFRIES. All you got to do is click the link in the description. You can download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so that you can use it whenever you're ready to grab the tickets. So what are you waiting for? Get out there, make some memories. Let's go beat Alabama's butt. Thank you, SeatGeek, for making it so easy. See you guys out there. Knock on wood with this one. My source thought that they should be able to run the ball better this year. Certainly hard to run the ball any worse than they did last year, but thought that unit looks really good run blocking. Like they're doing a better job there. That is one that I'm holding my breath on because I certainly thought that last year too. So I'm good if you want to clap back at that for whatever reason, but think that that's something to kind of look at. Gavin Sawchuk got some praise. He does some things extremely well. I'm not, like over the moon about this running back room. I'm not, in the dumps about it, but at the same time, I don't think there's anybody in there that, is going to, there's not a Cam, right? There's not a Benson. There's not a Dalvin. There's nothing like that. Chroma is probably the closest to anything you're going to get on some of those, but you're also talking about a true freshman running back and how big of an impact does he make week one against Alabama. But Gavin is a name that has stood out. I think they're going to rotate guys around. I think that there was some talk around the way that they rotated guys last year, if that let anybody get hot or not. And so maybe that rotation gets tightened up a little bit, but they've got a lot of options there. I would like to see them kind of shorten it a bit and let guys kind of get in more of a rhythm, more of a routine than they were able to last year. But I like what Gavin has done so far, and the source said he liked what Gavin had looked like. Chroma is certainly the most talented in that room. But again, Dalvin didn't play until week 5, 6, and a lot of that had to do with an injury to Pender early in the year. But it was that Louisville game I think Dalvin really broke out in. And so are you expecting Chroma to come out and get 15, 20 carries in that first game? Not at all, right? I think it'll take some time before you're seeing that. But certainly the most talented, and I think they'll try and get him into the rotation as much as they think they can early in the year. Wide receivers, just quick thoughts there. Boggs has the best hands on the team. I'm told he's a dude. And I wondered about that too. You think about a kid that's transferring over, or not transferring over, but flips his commitment from UCF. If he was really that much of a dude, like how, and that was my pushback is like, dude, this guy was committed to UCF. He came over with a coach that, notoriously likes to run the ball a lot. Like, is he really I got pushed back on that. Like, no, like he is that good. Like he is going to be a difference maker for FSU. And I don't know how early, but you see true freshmen all the time kind of make big impacts. So excited for him a ton. Deuce is really impressive, high pointing the ball. He finds the ball really, really well. Obviously you probably saw the highlight that Florida State tweeted out and put out on their social medias of him making a really nice catch with the defender, Jeremiah Wilson, kind of hugged all over him. Not the best pass if we're keeping it a buck. Tommy is certainly not a precision passer at all. So Deuce does have to go get it at times. Maybe that's a little bit of a concern once you get into the meat of the schedule, and certainly against Alabama's DBs. But Deuce does a good job of going up and getting it. Cornerbacks are the other side of the ball. Wilson Skellocton is your cornerback 1. The rotation besides that is Rawls, Jackson, Joseph, Jackson Arnaud, and Edwin Joseph. They should all kind of be in the mix for that other corner spot. I think that they'll all play. I think that they'll rotate that group around. We'll see if anybody over the last couple of weeks is able to mix in and be more solidified, but they really like Jeremiah Wilson at cornerback 1. Edwin, Earl, and Shaheem seem to be a little bit more vocal in the secondary, and they do a good job there. I got some pushback on asking about Shaheem running with the 2s a lot. At this point, I still would have Shaheem Brown, slotted in as a starter. Things can change through fall camp, but I got a little pushback that he's not a second stringer at this point. Hussey made some plays, does some things pretty well. We'll see kind of how that deep secondary, that safety position, irons itself out. A lot of Earl Little praise, which maybe shouldn't surprise anybody. They've been praising him a ton recently. He did get a pick. I heard it was just a kind of a bad ball by Sperry. It wasn't, he didn't make some crazy athletic play, but he caught a ball that was kind of thrown in his area and made a good play on it. So Earl Little, a little bit of a standout there too. No pun intended. Linebacker, you're probably looking at like Elijah, Omar, and Juice as your starters. I have heard that Thompson's done some things fairly well as well. So we'll see kind of how that room shakes out. I'm not overly impressed with the linebacker unit. I'd like to see Omar take a little bit more of a leap than he did last year, even virtually unplayable early in the year. And then he was one of your better linebackers, low bar for sure, but one of your better linebackers as the year went on. But I think Thompson could get in there and Stephon could get in there and mix it up a little bit as well. KJ Sampson on the defensive line, really good against the run. Obviously just a massive person and massive human being. Really good hands for a big guy. Moves fairly well. I think I like him more against the run than against the pass. So we'll see how Florida State rotates with a 3-3-5. Also in our last video, we talked about Jason Jenkins being able to play inside, outside, second, wherever. I think that'll be big too and help with some of that depth. I've heard Terrence Knighton does a really good job with the defensive line. Listen, there's been a lot of talk about recruiting and this, that, and the other. I think he's done a really good job as a coach. And that's probably why you brought him in. I don't know that you brought him in to be, the greatest recruiter of all time. We'll see kind of how all that shakes out. But I do think that the job he's doing with the defensive line is something that has been mentioned to me multiple times. Depth is always and will always be my biggest concern there. We were spoiled a couple of years ago with the depth along the defensive line where we just had guys stacked and stacked and stacked. That's not the case here, but I do think it's probably my biggest concern on the defense is what the depth behind Jackson and Williams and others look like. Jaden and James would be your starters as of today, but Amari playing both sides of the ball, getting Jenkins back. The depth on the outside worries me a little bit less than up the middle. Interesting note, I heard Knighton is able to push James Williams pretty hard. Obviously came over with him from Nebraska, and Williams responds well to it, right? Like it's kind of like your kids, right? If you're the coach of a team, you can push him a little harder, and that he's not hard on other guys, right? But that he can really, kind of dog James and it gets James to respond well and play up. So I thought that was interesting. Randy Pittman got wide open over the seam for a big play. You look at that as a positive of him sneaking back in, in and through the secondary, but maybe a negative too of the defense letting him get loose. But he had a big play kind of over the seam. Looks like he could be the alpha in that room. We'll see how that shakes out. Thomas a little bit banged up right now. Marquiston and Pittman similar. Pittman a little bit quicker, maybe a little bit different frame. But we'll see how that room looks. But Pittman got some praise from the tight end room. And then again, Landon not out there playing. Amari, I don't know how much I really should have asked this, but how much Amari is playing both sides in a scrimmage, like how much you want to wear him down before we even get to the season. I don't think he's going to pull a Travis Hunter by any means, but I do think that, that'll be something that intrigues me, how they use him on both sides of the ball. Earl's interception. Sperry looks really comfortable. I mean, he does things that a true freshman does. But the biggest difference I'm hearing right now on Sperry versus, even Glenn and Luke last year is that those guys just look deer in the headlights a lot of the times. Things weren't functional with them in and around, and then you saw that kind of play out live on the field too. Sperry looks a little more comfortable. Now, he certainly isn't, a polished multi-year guy back there, but I'm hopeful that if anything happened with Tommy, there wouldn't be the insane drop off. My guy likes Sperry more than he likes Brock back there, and that's no shot at Brock or anything like that. But Sperry seems to be closing in. Brock being a little bit limited right now and not practicing last night certainly doesn't help that. Tommy with his no contact jersey is so hard to simulate like his absolute best ability, and I really tried to dive in on that. I was like, man, can they do anything that's creative that can kind of get him running around at all? And they were like, no, because he's just not going like super hard when he's running the ball. He lets up anytime guys get close. He's obviously got the green jersey on, so he can't be touched, or he's two-hand touch. So it's hard to know what you really got there because he can't use his very best ability, which is his legs. Let's be very honest. And so that's a hard thing to replicate in practice, almost an impossible thing to replicate in practice. And so it's hard to know how much to take away when you can't actually have that replication going on. This I thought was an interesting note. Tommy looks like he wants to impress people, kind of put on a show. Not kind of a chip on his shoulder thing, but Mike a lot of times will side with the defense, and it really forces Tommy to lock in and be that leader, but he doesn't try to do too much. Maybe Mike will tell a defensive back to chirp at him a little bit. Now that is his teammate, so he's not, I don't think the guy's like dogging his mom or anything like that, but Tommy does like that pressure put on him and seems to perform pretty well with it, which maybe is a good sign once you get into those big games, especially week one. when the pressure will be put on you and you have to go out and perform. Says he does a pretty good job when that happens. Again, that's not a perfect one-for-one replication of what a game is actually going to be like inside a Doak, but I do think Mike's trying to replicate that as much as he can in practice because the pressure will certainly be on him. I asked how he would grade Tommy, and he said he'd give him like a C plus in spring. And then for fall camp and then last night's scrimmage, he'd give him about a B type grade. Nothing over the moon, but if Tommy Castellanos plays to a B grade through the season, Florida State's certainly going to go to a bowl this year and maybe even win, 7-8 games during the season. I think he'd probably have to be like a B plus, A minus for them to get to that 9-win threshold, but how guys play around him certainly makes an impact as well. Defense is better, which they're always better early in fall. That's not, a slam on them, but the offense wasn't bad by any means. Think things have maybe leveled out some from spring when the defense won the day every single time. Defense certainly still probably ahead, but I think Tony White just dominated Gus in spring, and Gus seems to have responded well to that and adjusted some things so that the offense can be in a little bit better of a spot here. Having more of your offensive line back, having some of your wide receivers that were somewhat limited back, that certainly helps as well. Getting a guy like Gavin in, who I think they very intentionally went out and got Gavin Sawchuk due to what their thoughts on that running back room were, it seems to have helped that a lot. So that's what I have from scrimmage number one. That's what I have for the first week and a half or so, or really just week or so of fall camp. If you have questions, I'll certainly try and do my best to answer them. I'm not going to repeat the entire hour and a half phone calls that have been made about this, but if you have questions and I have more, just intel or anything I can share, certainly feel free to drop them in the comments. Let me know if you liked the big picture for this one. We'll go a little bit more minutia, more on the scrimmage on the next one that we talk about, but would love to hear your thoughts down below. And then if you would like, you can certainly go over to patreon.com/DFNS for Double Fries No Slaw. And you can get all of this information and more in our Discord. I posted it earlier today before I had time to get this video out. So make sure that you go over there and check that out. You can sign up for just $3 a month if you want to be in that community. Appreciate you guys for tuning in as always. We'll talk to you soon. Go Noles.